Hi there, I'm Missi Information. On August 1st, I was challenged by Alice Lee of the Batmonth podcast to watch the film Twilight, 4 minutes every day during the entirety of the month. I decided to do it, because who am I to say no to someone on the internet? And thus began Twagust. It has finally arrived. It is the finale of Twagust. This entire month, 31 days, has accumulated and moved to this. We have gone all over the western part of the states, and on that journey, we have made new friends along the way and new nemesis along the way to create beefs with and to squash. But tonight, we have the person who is the impetus for all of this, so that I can make her pay for what she has done to me, to my husband, to my roommates, to the whoever is listening to this secondhand because they feel guilty by association, be like, oh, well, he's actually doing it, so I guess we really should listen. Like, oh, now I feel bad. It was a bit, and it went too far. But it's one of the best bits that's gone too far for me in a long time, because it really has made a wonderful experience. Not a way, as you said at the end of Batmonth, I was like, I'm going to challenge your thought that watching a movie X minutes at a time is good. Yeah, I agree. It's not good. Yeah. And and I should say her name. That person, by the way, creator of the Batmonth podcast, which you should listen to, Alice Lee. Thank you so much for joining.
I can't believe you did this. I really can't.
I can't believe I did it either.
I said it as a joke, not expecting you to actually start it and do it. And then when the first episode appeared, I was like, holy shit, she's doing it.
And it's because I knew that you didn't mean it.
Yes.
It got in my head.
Right.
In that what if, because it was enough. I'm like, oh, that's a joke. But the what if part of my brain went, but you could do that.
Yeah.
You do like this. You're tweeting about, I like the Batmonth. I'm like, I do like this format. Yeah. And she's explicitly giving me permission, as a bit or not, to just copy the format and just do it. So so I guess as the person who did Batmonth,
yes.
One, we can just decompress your experience with it.
Sure,
and then two, what you thought when I started to actually do it. Okay.
So I started doing Batmonth because I made a joke that in the Radio Free Multiverse Twitch chat, actually, I made it. They were talking about the Batman, which is like this 3-hour movie that came out this year with Robert Pattinson. It's directed by Matt Reeves, and it's 3 hours long. 3 hours is a long ass movie, and I said, what if I just watched it like 6 minutes a day every day for a month, because it's so long, it's just ridiculous. And then I liked the idea of the format because it was something creative I could do that had a format that was like guide rails for me, and it was very easy. Just watch the movie for 6 more minutes and talk about it. And I could do it every day, so it was like a habit, like The Artist's Way or something like that. I felt compelled to do it because I was doing it the whole month, and each episode, by the end especially, only took me 15 minutes to record and upload, and like that's pretty cool. Also, I've been saying this for years. The best feeling in the world is when you stop doing your podcast. So that's the gift I can give to you.
Oh, I mean, if you're listening to this as sort of accumulation, you don't have to listen to all the episodes. Be like, well, I'll figure out what happened to the end. One of the slight spoilers is that when the podcast ended, it sort of ended abruptly for me, because I thought I had the credits in the last episode 30, but in the middle of episode 29, the credits came up, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm done. I wasn't ready for it. And I had that wave of like release where all of a sudden I realized I don't have any thoughts about Twilight anymore. Yeah. Like my brain just sent whatever chemicals to say it's okay now. Yeah. It's done. And I did the last episode, completed it out and did some other fun stuff, but it was that feeling of truth to it. And also everything else you said about the habit forming, the structure, the knowing what you're going to do, the being able to do it without having to have that much preparation buy-in, right, exactly. Or nervous about. Yeah, it's just like, I'm going to click it on. I'm going to talk about what I see, what I'm feeling. And turns out, like, I had a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings about something that I According to the term by my friend Adam, is I had a negative interest in it. So it was something that it's not that I just didn't care about it. I was just like, I really don't care. I've been exposed to it too much. It's the thing now where it's like the MCU or other big blockbusters where you're just like, I don't want to hear about it anymore. And you think like it's because all the conversation is being driven by that. But the reason is that we now live in an age where social media and everything is much more prevalent, so you just feel like you're being exposed to it a lot more than like say before that time, and when you had to like seek people out to talk about it, or it's just in like the office and everything.
I think Twilight is actually a good example of when the tide started to shift, especially like 2008, 2012 when the movies were coming out. We still had a monoculture. Everyone was still watching the same like 4 NBC sitcoms or whatever, right?
Yep.
Like people like you would be friends with and I would be friends with, like people our age were all the same thing. And then Twilight appeared, and it was one of the first things that was like, this isn't for us. Who is this for? Oh, it's for teenage girls. That's gross. And people seem so into it. And now today on the internet, there's one of those every 20 minutes. Like there's K-pop, there's like TikTok people, there's Instagram people, there's like a million streaming and reality shows. There's a 90-Day Fiance universe that I've never heard of. And
I've heard of it. I've heard just the fact that I know it exists seems like I've heard too much about
it.
Right.
And like there exists so many of these, and I think Twilight was one of the first that really, because of the nature of like people who are millennials getting older, and then like or it was Gen X getting older, or elder millennials getting older, and then younger millennials getting really into it. I think that's how the generations shake out. I think the same thing's happening now with Gen Z, with like all the stuff that happens. Like I hear about all this stuff, and I don't have interest in it. I actually feel repulsed by it. But if I question that, it's not because I'm actually repulsed by it. It's just because it's so prevalent and people are so in-groupy with it, and I am not on that in-group.
Yes. It's like, oh, pop culture's an inside joke that you're not a part of.
Right, and I think for many people, Twilight was their first one. Like there was a big backlash about Twilight the Twilight people appearing at Comic-Con when the movies were coming out. And I remember Kevin Smith like famously did a panel where he defended them and saying like, these people are just as passionate about you people are about my movies or Star Wars. And it's like, he's absolutely right, but nerds don't want to hear it, because nerds always thought they were the oppressed ones. They could not be the oppressor, and we have learned that's not the case.
Well, and I think it was Forrest who first introduced the concept of it. It also was this sort of reaction to being like, oh, that's something for girls and for girls to like. And a lot of men, I think in their aggro or toxic masculinity, saw 2 pretty boys, and that the entire concept of the saga is an internal fight with this woman between which of the 2 pretty boys she's gonna get. And like, it just broke their mind that something wasn't made for them. It is always just the fact, and that's how I felt about it. Like, I knew Twilight wasn't made for me.
Yeah.
And then it was like, fine, I can just ignore it. But then it got to a certain point where you can't ignore it. And I unfortunately have a broken brain. The information and misinformation is the fact that I am just trying to absorb stuff. So I'm the person who, like, I looked up all the MCU plots and stuff just to know at least what the hell people were talking about in memes, in my group chat. I can be like, okay, yes, I got it. Maybe I'll see this someday, but like, I just need to know to be in the know, because the discourse can move so fast, which is stupid that we even have this language to talk about, these things that were in it. The discourse. What is this nonsense?
And the thing that I think is interesting is that, because I'm the same way. I haven't watched Marvel movies for like 10 years, partially because I had a friend who worked in a VFX house who got fired because their VFX house made a mistake and Marvel wanted a head, and so my friend got fired, and I was mad about that at the time. And so I haven't watched any of those movies, but I know exactly what happens in all of them, because like I have coworkers that talk about it and stuff. And it's like, you've probably spent as much time reading wikis and looking at articles about these fucking movies than if you just sat down and watched the movies. It would have been the same amount of time, which is the weirdly perverse thing. And I think like that is part of how we all operate on the internet. And I don't like, it can't be healthy, right?
I mean, the fact that this podcast's run length, with just the recaps alone, exceeds the length of the film itself not including the daily episodes, is exactly a testament to what you're talking about. The difference is I'm actually watching the film.
Right, but in this case, you're actually commenting on the movie.
Yes.
And so,
but it's just the amount of discourse and language and just talking about the thing that we're doing just to process it and all creates as much information as the stuff itself. It's, you know, and it's why we have these huge, it was just talked about the other day again, things like The Last Jedi or these weird things that don't just become about the film or the art itself. It just becomes a culture war issue where we're not talking about the real thing. You know, Twilight, we're not talking about the fact that this is something for girls. And that's why a lot of people were rejecting it. Not because of the plot or because of writing it. They found whatever, but it just was an innate reaction of disgust. And so much of people's drives are by disgust. I mean, Inside Out nailed it, the Pixar movie. But that is something, especially when it comes to culture war, conservative trigger points. For them, it is always goes down to a reaction of something disgusts them. And then if you try and break it down, well, why does this disgust you? And then it basically comes down to, well, it does. And it's like, well, that's your fucking problem, not mine. You know, so that's where I think, circling around to Twilight, I have grown to not try and get as much into the discourse as possible for things I have not read or observed or whatever. Which is why the entire idea of doing Twilight specifically, if you had mentioned other movies, I'm not 100% sure I would have latched onto it. But something about the fact that, well, one, you're just shocked that I hadn't seen Twilight. Well, the first shock was I hadn't seen anything with Robert Pattinson.
I mean, I wasn't actually shocked, but I felt like in asking that question, I'm trying to remember what I was doing a month ago. I think like I was trying to suggest that by having brought in enough of pop culture with Robert Pattinson, that you would have a stronger opinion about him because Twilight was such a big deal for so long in the culture in general.
Which is true, and I've explored it. We've explored it. You can listen to my mind just circling around it, going back and forth, and it is fascinating because I get it. Like I do get it now that I've seen it. There are just moments where he is a handsome boy. He's a handsome man.
He's an attractive man.
And the way that the film sets up everything to be sensual, it just drives all of the lust in your mind palace. And so it really is like a fill in the blank. Yeah. Because you can just imagine, well, what are Bella and Edward doing off screen if they're just, not a lot we know.
I mean, I've read the books, not a lot.
Not a lot. But still, it allowed a choose your own sort of fantasy with it on there. Which I know that they then, in the subsequent films, do to Jacob as well, and kind of then drive him as the other, just the other object of desire in there.
So this is I have questions for you.
Yes, please.
Are you actually going to do the other movies? Please don't.
Please don't?
Here's what I'll say.
Here's what. Okay, you go first, and then I will say what I was thinking. Okay. And we'll see if what you says erases what I was thinking.
Okay. You had this experience, and it was really magical, I think, for you, and you're learning a lot, and it was good. Around, like, movie 3, probably even movie 2, halfway through movie 2, you're going to be like, what the fuck am I doing? And now that you've locked yourself in for 4 more movies, I think you're setting yourself up to fail. I've also only seen the first 2 movies. I've only seen Twilight and New Moon. I have never seen Eclipse or The Breaking Dawns Part 1 and 2, partially because I kind of, like, my ironic, non-ironic liking of Twilight kind of fell off around the point that the 3rd movie came out. But it's a big investment, and I think, like, this, like, just take this nice experience that you've had as a whole and leave it on a shelf. Like, I thought about doing another Batman movie the month after I did the Batmonth, and I didn't, because I knew that if I kept doing it, I was really going to hate the format after a certain point, and it would lose the magic that I'd had.
Interesting. I thought about everything you just said has gone through my head as well, especially the decision of it. Because, so the first thing is, I think I said it in one of the episodes. I for sure cannot do this as a daily thing again.
Yeah.
I know that would break me. That would be tragedy. That's not comedy. That
Yeah.
just would turn into, as you said, someone who's just watching lengthy nonsense and is just struggling to like push through it. And I don't want this to become like a bad movie podcast
Yeah,
type
exactly,
thing
exactly,
where
yeah.
I'm just ripping into it and stuff. But now that the seal has been cracked, I do feel like I want to see the rest of these films
Sure.
just to like get them out of the way. Because
Yeah.
I have nieces and nephews. Who knows if any of them are going to become interested in this when they grow up? So I might just need to like, no, it's whatever.
Yeah.
And I can then have the freedom to react to it as I want,
Right.
and do it as possibly either a commentary where I release it as a weekly portion so that it's chopped up and I can do it all at once. It's still going through there.
Yeah.
Maybe I drag people in with me, but I want to thank you for the wisdom and the permission to not have to do this.
Oh God, no. I look. I love a bit. I love committing to a bit.
Yes.
But there's a difference between committing to a bit and punishing yourself with a bit.
Yes.
And I've done both. I think I was doing one earlier tonight on our Twitch show. But
No,
yeah.
that was glorious.
Thank you.
Everyone needs to listen to or watch or listen to Beef Week episode of Miscalled with the Former Randoms. Missi was there tonight. Other appearances from people that might sound slightly like Missi also made appearances tonight. There were dead presidents who came from
so
beyond
many
the
dead
grave.
presidents.
There were so many. There were so many dead presidents. I was not ready. I told myself, I'm like, oh, the 9 I have in the bank, that's fine. I can just sit and listen.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it started happening, and I'm like, oh no, someone else is doing these, so I got to keep doing these. Like, again, it's the permission to do and the permission to not do. Which again was, I think, part of the reason I just did it to begin with, is that it was someone giving me permission to create.
Yeah.
Just to do something for the sake of doing something, and something that emotionally I can put whatever investment I need into it, because it's a Twilight film. We're 10 years past the phenomena. It's not something where any take I have is going to be anything that hasn't been said by like an AI generated script of Twilight reviews or anything like that.
But I also think it's been 10 years. Culture has changed in different ways. Your perception of it went, I think, based on what you've said, from ew, gross, this is for girls, to oh, there might be something there, or there might be something ironically there, or there might be something actually genuinely there. I'm curious, like, okay, you've watched Twilight now.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I've really had to put it in my mind to try and think of how I would feel watching this movie when it came out. Because I'm having a weird experience where, I've talked about this, I mentioned it several times, the fact that I just know how all of it ends and can't unknow that. Didn't make this ever so slightly different. But here's the thing is, I also had no clue what was happening in the film. I didn't know how far the story went or didn't go.
Right.
So truly, I was watching this film for the first time.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it was an experience of it.
Yeah.
I did not like the film. I liked the experience of watching the film, because it's one of those films where I love a film that makes choices.
Yes.
I love a film that just goes for it with no abandon and just says, this is what we're doing. And it doesn't try to justify it. It just like is what it is, like the baseball scene or the way that the car crash scene was done, like all these things. It just was so interesting to watch. It was visually very interesting to watch. I really enjoyed the fact that when I did the film so slowly, I was able to really think about the choices the characters were making. And that, throughout, you can hear that's an obsession of mine, of, like a Shakespeare tragedy. It all comes back to that, where it's just you're looking at the screen and you're saying, don't do it, don't make that choice. I, as an audience member, have information you don't know, so I know this is not a good choice, but I have to sit here and watch you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I thought for some reason that Edward was like the cool boy in school. I didn't realize that people just thought he was a bit of a weirdo, you know? And so that threw me for a loop as well. Because then I'm like, well, he's also a bit of an outcast, but like we know why.
Right.
So it's a little bit different.
But I don't know how much this came across in the movie because I've read the book. I reread half the book
Yes,
before doing this, and I watched the movie last night. In the book and in the movie, I think too, everyone's hot for Edward. He just doesn't interact with any of them, and he stays away. And like everyone's jealous of Bella because she gets to date Edward.
That's true. That actually did come across because it was at least telegraphed in the scene where they go to the restaurant and her two friends are basically like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And I felt it was a mix of. I mean, it was obviously meant to be like, "Oh, they're hot," but I wasn't 100% sure if it was also meant to be like, "Oh, Edward, you know,
No,
he's the interesting boy."
There was like
That's
none
fascinating.
like I think if they made it today, there would be some jock who's like calling him faggot and kicking his lunch tray or whatever. But
oh gosh, yeah,
they didn't. That was not the intention at all. And I think part of it is just. So okay, this is so many things I want to talk about.
No, dude, you can start spilling out whatever
Okay.
you need to. I will be your student right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm handing over the lectern of
Okay.
Missy Information's homeschool. You can now school me on whatever you wish.
All right, okay. A lot of this comes back to the book and Stephanie Meyer's choices. She also had a cameo in the movie. They very clearly have her sitting in the diner and they say, "Would you like some more coffee, Stephanie?"
Why, I remember that moment
Yeah.
and just thinking like, oh, a named character. I no
Yeah, it's her.
friggin' clue.
Oh
my god, that's so funny.
Like a lot of the things that I think you're attributing to the movie are actually bold choices in storytelling from the book. And I think that's partially because like she was like a first-time author. She didn't have an agent. She didn't have she wasn't following traditional literary conventions. And it's young adult also, so you can just do whatever you want, I think. But she really had the freedom to make them go play baseball. That's in the book. The weird tonal shifts and how quickly the plot moves forward, like aggressively moves forward, is that, and like the movie condenses that, but it's basically the exact same plot as the book, only just with Bella's point of view always in because it's a first person story, and then also a lot more color around the edges around some of the high school stuff. It was interesting because you kept calling it a high school drama, which it is, but they actually cut a lot of the high school stuff out. Like in the book, there's a big subplot about how Mike and Ethan, the Asian kid and the jockey kid, were both really hot for her, and they were fighting over her and stuff. And okay, this book does an incredible job of creating a protagonist who is a girl who hits all of the tropes that you want for her. She's beautiful, but she doesn't realize it. She thinks she's the least interesting person. Basically, the first few chapters of the book is just about how she's so boring. She's so boring. And then she goes to Forks, and she's she's like a Phoenix 6 and she's a Forks 10. So everyone in Forks is obsessed with her, even though she's so boring. And then she meets Edward. One other thing they talk about in the book a lot is that Bella is very pale, and I think that's partially why Edward is so attracted to her. And they didn't really do this in the movie so much, but they explicitly spent a lot of words talking about how she's so pale. That plus the thing where he can't read her mind, which does have relevance to the plot later in the series. Yeah, Edward reads minds. They didn't really talk about it that much in the movie, but Edward can read minds. That's how he knows everything, and he can't read Bella's mind, and that plus her sweet human blood smell and her looking so fair is why he's so obsessed with her. And then in the relationship between them, you have all of the things you want in a romantic tense relationship. He can't not be with her. He keeps talking about how he is a threat to her. Women love it when tall, dark, and handsome, a little mysterious. Maybe he's gonna choke you out. How many women like that? I know I do. And then she wants to be with him against his will. And so there's this like push pull constantly of them saying like we can't but we want to, so it's forbidden. That's hot. Part of it is also she is okay with basically everything. Like she finds out that he's a vampire, she finds out that there are werewolves, and is completely nonplussed. Like not at all. Doesn't care at all. And that is like the thing that I think fantasy readers would bring into this scenario. Like you watch like, I don't know, like Beauty and the Beast, and you see all the people yelling at the beast and you're like, no, the beast is beautiful, why don't people see it? That's what Bella's literally doing. And that's why Edward feels like he can let go around her, is because she's not freaking out that he's a vampire. And so like that's, I think, a difference between what a normal protagonist would do versus what Stephenie Meyers has Bella do. And she turns that into a strength for her.
The only downside to this being a podcast instead of some sort of vodcast is the fact that you cannot see the range of expressions and emotions I went through with some of those realizations. The fact that she was pale and he found her attractive because of that, blows my mind. I don't know why that blows my mind, but it is just such an interesting layer to add in, because it also sort of helps explain Kristen Stewart's casting in it. Not that I think she's badly cast. Like I don't have a conception of the character in it. I just remember there being some amount of like not hubbub, but like blah, 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 about her casting of it and being like, is she the right Bella? Is she, not knowing the entire story around it. But that the fairness and the softness and all of that really drives home also to why they were doing what they were doing with his face. And I know it's the simple reason, because they are paler, but the way and why and how pale they made him and the change, like, I don't know if this was intended or not. I truly don't. But the change in his skin tone from the beginning of the film to the end, where he has more like flesh color, just color. I don't know. He still looks pale, but like, just his cheeks are lighting up, and it's that to me was sort of like the weirdness of it, because I was like, oh, the paleness is associated with the bad stuff, and now he's more.
Well, okay. Did you catch the thing with the eyes? Did you catch the thing?
Yes, I caught that. Oh, yes, no, I did, because I sat there and when she commented about his eye color changing, I think I said in the moment, like, oh, apparently his eye color changed, which I did not notice. I didn't know at all, but I remember them talking about it. And if I'm inferring it correctly, because I do not know if they explicitly say, or he explicitly says, but it's because did he do a feeding? Right. And that's why his eyes change color?
The first time she meets him, his eyes are black because he hasn't fed in a while. And that's also why he's like so far away from her and saying like, I got to get out of this class. But so then he goes and feeds over the weekend, and then suddenly he can talk to her again, right? And his eyes turn golden. And the other vampires, their eyes are red because they are feasting on human blood. And so the other vampires know that these people are vegetarians.
That might have been explained, but gosh.
I don't think it's explicitly said, but that's part of what you kind of get when you read the book. But yeah,
and you're right. Like they do have that, and I just sort of like. I mean, again, this made so many different choices, and they're also these characters are on in like flashes because their edits are quick. Like I noticed throughout it, the pacing, the 4 minutes weirdly normally hit a beat where all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we just finished this thought or this scene, and I'm getting close to the end of this. So they're pacing it like every minute we're moving a new thing. And I got
they're trying to cram a really long book with a lot of detail on this stuff into it, and like there were just cuts everywhere. There was conveniences made. Like there were like 2 or 3 more scenes between Bella and Edward before she figures out he's a vampire versus like the first time. There's a trip to Seattle the trip to Seattle isn't real, but like they crammed a lot of stuff together like really fast. There was a dance that wasn't the prom at the beginning of the book, and then the prom at the end of the book.
Oh my god. ugh, you can listen to hear my thoughts, other episodes, my thought on proms and dances, and me not getting them. But I think that is what also I got from it, especially in the chunks, which was tonally how it shifts from what type of movie it is and style and tone, and that makes more sense. Like it felt like a movie that had a lot of stuff they were cramming in and were trying to get through. There's no doubt about that, and I did not feel like there was much. I knew for sure there was not a lot we were adding into this. We were moving stuff left and right to get it condensed in, but I'm like, I don't think they're making many choices in this that are different from the book.
I think the choices you're calling out are all choices that were made in the book. I think the movie was made for people who loved the book. I don't think the movie was made for people who have not read the book.
And I wonder about this because when the film went into production, and the fact that it's a Lionsgate production, so it wasn't that was the other thing. It's like, it wasn't one of the big studios that was taking a risk with this. It was a smaller studio that just
it was Summit Entertainment. Summit Entertainment was the major production house. Yes.
Yeah, and so they're like, we can just get this and let's punt for it. So it was interesting to me that it's like, that also made me understand sometimes why the choices were made just from a production standpoint, because I knew this it was blockbuster, but it didn't have all the money behind it.
Oh no, it had no money. It had no money.
And that is what also I think, again, because knowing how big it got, and then all the subsequent ones became CGI blockbusters.
I got stuff I can tell you about. Oh man.
Okay.
So. They did not have any money. I was watching interviews with Kristen Stewart that came out like press junket she did for this movie earlier today, and she talks about how all of the scenes with her and Edward jumping through trees and stuff, that was all done practically with her and him on harnesses in the forest in Oregon, because they didn't have the money to do green screen and CGI.
Okay, but I'm gonna say that makes me enjoy it a lot better.
I know, right?
For some reason, that makes me enjoy it better, even though it's still so I guess, a question I have. In the book, do they use trees to fly and dodge? Can they not fly, but they can basically be...
They can't fly, but they can jump. They can jump very fast, and they can run very fast,
See, and even that choice was... It's the choices that Stephenie Meyers is making that is just changing lore, and it's fine that she's changing the lore. It's your own work.
Oh yeah, she's deliberately making a lot of choices. Yes,
and in fact, it made it interesting because I was like, what is happening here? Me with my knowledge of vampires could not have predicted this would be it. Even the fact that there is a society that is split within the vampires based on the consumption of people, and it's just weird to be like, they have their own morals. This movie is not by our moral standards that we have as humans. It's based off of this weird mythos world where we just have to realign our thought processes for it.
And they get much deeper into that later in the series, because you also get the Quillet Native American werewolf side of it. So you kind of deduce this, but book 1 is Edward, book 2 is largely Jacob, and then book 3 is her making a decision on that, and then book 4 is the fallout.
Okay, interesting.
And so one other thing I noticed when I was reading this, I didn't remember. Jacob's 15 in the book, and they're 18. Or 17 or 18, so he's younger.
He looks younger. She treated him basically like, hey, friend, hey, person that I knew back then. But there is no chemistry with them whatsoever, and they're not trying to. He's literally just guy who shows up every once in a while to dispense wisdom. Weirdly taken a vague shamanesque role that they have to do for that type of character.
They put more of him in the movie, I think, because they knew they were setting up Team Jacob, Team Edward stuff. Because at the point that I think at the point the first movie they worked on, I think the third book was already out.
Yes, that's what we. I think in Forrest and Emily we talked about that. Which was why I wondered, because that was the other one of the things I was surprised about it was that. I just thought it was Team Edward, Team Jacob the whole time. I just thought that was what the initial. It basically was from the entire time she had to choose.
Yeah.
So him being in it, so little, but also a lot for, as you said, me feeling like he's not really much plot in this film. He only exists to introduce the
concept
wolf
of vampires
stuff,
to her,
which doesn't pay off in this film. It only pays off in setting up our distrust of Edward and the family and all that
Yeah.
for the dramatic tension, but it doesn't serve, the werewolves don't come back.
Right.
And it's because they're not in that book, which is, I've figured out at that point. I think for me as well, it was, I really got in the nitty gritty of my own dislike of fatalism, which stems from the fact that I was evangelical and fatalism was baked into the culture.
Yeah,
so
you're
I'm
not
having
going
an
to be Team
absolute
Edward
rebel.
then.
Yeah, no, so I'm having an absolute rebellion and not jiving and just be like,
Yeah.
no, girl, that's not a thing. You are
all Bella wants to do is die, and then
Yes,
all she wants to do is get turned into a vampire.
Yes, like the fact that you say, because I didn't say this earlier because I wanted to make, I'm trying to do my best not to talk over my guests as much when I do this. But when you were mentioning at the top where she's like, basically like, oh, I'm fugly and stupid and awful and no one likes me, it really made sense where I'm like, yeah, I mean, this movie tells us, but this girl is just depressed to the lowest levels. Like, she's a person that is aimless, who does not know what she wants, and finally, for some reason, finds another person that feels that same way. And it's that connection. It is. There are relationships that the impetus of it is just two people who are both searching for anyone, and they just happen to be there at the right time. This obviously implies there's an actual metaphysical layer too that's driving it, which makes again boggles my mind, but not our human world. But yeah, that was just interesting to be like, well, okay, make these decisions, girl, because it's gonna work out, but you're gonna go through hell to get there.
But not only does she get the thing she wants, which is another depressed loner, she gets handed all of the things she thought she wanted, or people are told they want. She goes to a new place. She is the talk of the town. She has two boys throwing themselves at her, and she doesn't like either of them. She has friends now. She has a social circle, and then she basically throws all of that away to be with her sad, lonely boyfriend, vampire.
That was the part that hurt so much. Was not her being with Edward. Was literally the moment where, after the baseball game, this turns into like a Lifetime drama, and they're fleeing. They're on the run. They gotta get away from basically crazy toxic men, and Veronica, and it was just again another wild tonal shift, because it is just so they get to the consequences of her actions so quickly, because about an hour in, they are doing Edward explaining he said he's a vampire. He's explaining his lore in the next exposition dump about his family. They then go meet the family, have a baseball game. Bad vampires come and want to suck Bella's blood. Everything's uber fucked, and now they're running, and her mom's kidnapped, and like people might die, and she might be turned into a vampire. It's like all like the escalation of things that happen in the last 30 minutes of this film, which don't really do anything to resolve the like stuff that we've set up earlier. It's just stuff we introduced just now and have to resolve it.
Right, and they don't resolve some of it, but it's like, okay, the crucial point at the end of the book is, when is Edward going to turn Bella into a vampire? Because she wants to be turned into a vampire, and he won't. And like the thing where he has to suck the venom out of her, and he has to restrain himself. That's like metaphor for like the whole metaphor for turning into a vampire is just having sex. The metaphor is having sex. And then like ironically they talk about how they can't have sex because she's not a vampire yet. But it's like she wants to have sex, and he won't, and that goes much deeper. I don't want to spoil things for you, but especially when you get to books 3 and 4, that goes much deeper. But like that is where the Mormonism of the whole thing comes into play, where it's like they are so hot for each other, but they can't touch each other. Like in the book, there's this thing where like when she touches him, their skin is electric, and so she can't even touch him. And he wants, and that's why she wants to be turned into a vampire, and he's like, no, we should just have a nice, happy, long life where you turn old, and she doesn't want that.
That wrist suck. It was like the pinnacle of hard sensuality.
Right.
It just was like, oh, imagine a bad boy like just sucking on your wrist,
Yeah.
like, but it's like hot, but it can be it is
It's hot and it's
basically
chaste and it's
it's
yeah.
all of the things that like it's all of the like barely to first base moves that any sexually stunted individuals think are like, oh my god, like I'm gonna get to hold hands, I'm gonna get a like it's weird to think
Yeah.
about that, but like there was a point where I obsessed about what my first kiss was gonna be like and
Yeah,
thinking it was
totally.
really important. And my first kiss ended up being in a play that I was doing, which was a 10-minute play festival at my college, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I guess it's just gonna happen now, and that's what it
That
is,
doesn't
and
count.
it's
That
not that
doesn't
big a
count.
deal. Oh yeah, that's true. But it is. So it's
But
little
yeah, no,
things like,
exactly.
but no, but it's like, but it just is one of those weird things where, and in fact, the reason I was thinking, my brain was rolling too, because I don't know how I missed that obvious metaphor. Like, I got that they couldn't be together, but I didn't get down to the point that is simply just as simple as vampirism is having sex, and
Yes.
that you have to wait, and that you have to wait till the right time. We have to make sure it's together, and especially in like, again, that fatalistic philosophy that usually stems from religion. Uh, in this case, like, I'm thinking Americanized stuff,
Yeah, I
with
know. But
Christianity,
yeah.
but the drive of like, you need to wait, and this is going to be such a life altering experience
Oh yeah.
that is a
You can't go back from it.
predestined moment. It's like this sacred. Oh my god, it's an
And
apple.
and
It's
and
an
when you become
apple, and you don't
yeah.
want an apple that's due. This is like literally the metaphors they would use in churches. It's every once in a while I forget that people didn't grow up like this, and so this is the kind of bullshit that you'd hear from it. Having sex is a little bit like the cover of Twilight. You see that apple that's on there? It's a nice apple. It's whole, hasn't been bit from yet. Now think to yourself, if someone handed you an apple, and they had a bite from it, or several bites on it, or it's covered in cum, would you want to eat that apple? No. So just like virginity, you don't want people to take bites from your apple.
Well, I mean, okay, maybe you wouldn't, but
Yeah.
all of us here.
But yeah,
It's also the idea that Edward is a killer. He is all that is evil in the world, and as soon as she gets turned, she's also going to be evil in all the evil in the world.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It is like original sin and everything. Which was that what like vampire lore is? Isn't there like a part of vampiric lore that the first vampire was Judas Iscariot, who was forced to
something like
wander the
that.
earth?
Well,
So like,
I think vampire lore was always a way to talk about oppressed people in ways to create myths to make them seem scary, whether that was like the Jewish people or the Romas or whoever.
when Emily mentioned that in a recap, that like blew my mind, because I had never, and I read about all the terrible connections and all these sorts of things because I want to make sure that I'm aware of it so that I don't, accidentally step in it. But that was one where I would never think about that connection happening, but it is, it's true. I was like, and I think again, it's just that little bit of evangelical reasoning me going up. I was so resistant to tying all these things to her Mormonism, because I just was like, I don't. Is this projecting? Are people like wanting this to be about it? But it really is. There's no way to like. It's like it'd be like trying to say that Battleship Earth is not about Scientology.
Right? Yeah,
like,
no,
you
totally.
can't. It is baked into the entire ethos of it, and it is so funny to me that the movie has done it, and I can still be having realizations about it, which is just another reason I love doing this, is because anything that you start digging into more and more, you can just gain more nuggets from it of information that you're going to hold on to.
Right. I wanted to. Okay, I'm not going to give you spoilers because I think you. It seems like you're going to go through the rest of it in order. But I did want to correct one thing that you talk about, which is Jacob imprinting on her daughter. Okay.
Oh, okay. So go ahead and please. Yes, I'm probably saying slander, but I just
No. It's okay.
Yeah.
But the key thing I think you don't understand is that her daughter is, because they conceive her daughter when she's still a human. And so her daughter is half human, half vampire. And when she is born, within like 2 weeks, she's a toddler, and then she will grow to adulthood in 8 years. So it's not that so much that he saw a baby and was like, I'm gonna fuck that baby. It was
I didn't think it was that.
I know. But
Yeah,
that's what's implied though. When
people
you
haven't
talk about
listened,
impinging on
I
a
just-
baby, that is what is implied.
Yeah.
We know this. But like pretty much at like immediately, she's immediately like verbal and showing affection for him, and she's getting older. And I think by the time the book ends, Breaking Dawn ends, she's already like an older kid, like 7 or 8ish in human years. And so like part of it is like they stress in the book very much. Imprinting is beyond one's control.
Yeah.
You cannot force it. It can happen to anyone. But that's also like I think a very Mormon thing of like your husband is picked for you.
Yes. Predestined,
right?
Predetermined. It is.
Yeah.
Yes, everything happens for a reason, and
Right.
you need to make sure you are listening to those who can hear God, who can channel that for you, and basically, like Bella, want someone who will just make your decisions for you, who will make life not be so hard, because they can just have everyone guide your path, and you just have to simply do what you're told by a man. In this case, it's a weird patriarchal film for a film that's ostensibly about a young woman,
A woman's
coming
point of
of
view,
age and point of view.
It's
and
about her
written
still
by a
being
woman.
subservient to men. Yes.
And that comes from, it has to just come from the religious background that she was from, where this is the norm. That was just an aspect of culture. Like, that was an aspect in the culture of my growing up. Like, I remember there being retreats where the men would have to get together, and it basically would be, the essence of these things is be like, don't be a shitbag, like, don't cheat on your wife, like, don't beat her, like, stay, with your family and your kids, like, love them even if they're little shits too. It'd be like, they needed these reminders and these things, and that's not the kind of thing that I've needed. But that's the kind of men that are in this, are ones who just, they're the ones driving all the action, and the women are just reacting.
Yes, and like,
they're just being driven through these events. Like, she's always having to look to Edward to be like, well, what do we do next? What happens? What should I do? What are we going to, you just tell me and I'll just go with you.
Yeah. What I will say is as the books go on, it is very much her. She does get to make choices, like who she chooses to be with and stuff. She does make some choices, but it is largely about how Edward has to protect her. That's a big theme in the second book and the third book. But also, so book one is Edward. Book 2 is Team Jacob. Book 3 is solving Team Edward versus Team Jacob. And then book 4 is marriage, baby, and some other stuff. Like Jacob imprinting on Renesmee is not the end of the book. That's actually like only a third of the way in. There's a lot more that happens after that. There's a whole other plot that happens after that.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. Also in the, because there's like author's notes in each book, like where she's talking about like talking about it as the books are coming out. She talks about how it's so impossible for them to make a movie of Breaking Dawn because they didn't have the CGI technology to make a realistic baby who can move around like Renesmee does. Because it's basically like the dancing baby on Ally McBeal, but like an actual person. And I don't know entirely if that's the sole reason why they're Breaking Dawn as 2 movies, but it might be part of it.
I want so bad a dancing sparkling baby. That's what I need.
I've never watched those movies. It might be in there. I think you should read the books. That's my recommendation.
Oh no, I have to read. That's a
here's the
worse challenge.
No. They're very fast reads because it's young adult. You've already seen the movie. They are very compelling. Like, so what happened for me was, the reason I got into this is I had a friend named Elaine who got into this, like, ironically, not ironically, and was like, you have to read it. And so I read the first book, and then when I finished the first book, I bought the second book, and like halfway through the second book, it was like, no, I was compelled. I have to finish all these books. The books are a fun read, and I think it will help you get into the headspace of Bella because there's so much of her point of view. Again, the like I'm a nobody, no one cares about me sort of thing that doesn't really get portrayed. And like casting Kristen Stewart isn't gonna make her seem like a nobody dowdy girl because she's fucking Kristen Stewart, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's just how movies are. They don't cast ugly people in movies. But yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it's first person narrative as well. Like she came in with the narratives every once in a while in the movie, but it really felt like it was there to just fill in the space that you couldn't visually do. So it'd be things like her saying, "I'm always going to be with him," because you can't visually do that without her saying it, and she's not going to say it to him yet.
And there's iconic lines that have to be in the movie that are in the narration, like the one in the back, which is like about 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Yep. Second, there was a part of him, and I didn't know how dominant that part might be, that thirsted for my blood. And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
It has to be. But was the line about like this is like a lion falling in love with a lamb from the book? I knew it had to be.
The whole got me. Okay, so the whole opening sequence with the deer getting killed in the book, it's a vision of Bella about to be killed by a vampire.
What?
Like a dream she has, instead of it being a deer getting killed.
That's so funny because it opened with the deer being killed, and I even was just like, and we open like we do on every time of deer in a field. And later I just thought it was interesting the concept of animals being killed instead of humans, which is what it is because we saw the vampires hunt it. But the fact that that's just not what happened at the top of the book. Yeah. And again, so does she dream and have visions of Edward and stuff? Is that an element of it as well?
Oh, that's fun. That's fun. So you know what? You know the sequence where she's having a dream about Edward standing in the room?
Yes. Is he actually standing in the room?
Edward's actually standing in the room.
Yeah, motherfucker. Oh, that
becomes a major plot point.
It was
later in the books.
It was a major plot point in my head. I just remember going through it first when he showed up, being like, "Is that guy really there?" And then being like, "Oh, maybe he's not." And then when he said he was, I'm like, "I fucking knew it!" Like, this is creepy.
I thought it was interesting. You focused a lot on the gaslighting after the car accident.
Yeah.
Because like I was listening to the podcast, but I hadn't rewatched the movie at that point. When I watched the movie, I was thinking like, he is trying to gaslight her, but she never believes it, and she's not wrong. It gets resolved fairly quickly.
She's like too smart for it. That's the thing too, is that she's and it's because she knows what she wants. And even if I, as the viewer, fundamentally disagree with that choice, she is always extraordinarily clear-headed about it. She never backs down. She never has a moment of doubt. She never is mulling or wobbling or going, well, I don't know. She's like, no, I'm in. She's stubborn. I'm in this. Yeah. Let's do it. Like, and I think it is just because it must be, and you can say if the book says this or not, is it just the fact that things were just happening? Like, literally the excitement of new things are happening.
Yes.
And I am so enthralled with just being a part of this world that I never got to experience. That is driving me and my fuel to be in this as much as possible.
Yeah.
So it's like me discovering gay sex. Got it. No.
Yeah, I think it's a real thing. It's like the first time you move. Yeah. The first time you move somewhere new, if you don't know anyone, you might meet up with people. You might try things you've never tried before. I feel like for a lot of people, they'll eventually just kind of revert to their old ways. But for her, it's becoming obsessed with this guy who is hot, and also is first repulsed by her and then is suddenly obsessed with her. That she can't have, and that she's being told she can't have, but she wants, and he's being told he can't have her, but he wants her. It's like, it is the supercharged version. I've been saying this jokingly, but Twilight is the better version of Romeo and Juliet for the modern age.
No, it kind of is. Like I got the impressions already, and I don't think she's it's not an explicit like they're trying to do a 1-for-1. But
no, it's not. It's not. It's not a 1-for-1 because
it made me realize just how that trope it permeates throughout so much teenage drama.
Yes.
Like coming of age films, like they share this theme, and it's why I it made me help understand actually why people like Romeo and Juliet a little bit better. I have just a part of my brain that has a block for it. I just don't like it. I don't know if it's because I
Yeah.
know too much. Like, it's like Twilight. It's like, I know too much about this. So when I finally was like seeing it, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is the thing. I know what it is.
But yeah, it's he can't be with her, she can't be with him. There's that tension. There's also the threat of the world around them.
Yep.
Also, there's the added like Team Jacob, which is not a thing in Romeo and Juliet at all, and I think is an interesting dynamic for them. And yeah, I don't know. It has vampires. It has. There's a sequence in the book. She doesn't say this, but Stephanie Meyer has said it later, where she listens to a CD, and the CD is the first Linkin Park album.
Oh my god.
Hybrid Theory. And she gets obsessed with Linkin Park, and that was not in the movie, but I really love that. Very important.
Yes.
The baseball scene. We have to talk about the baseball scene.
We have to talk about the baseball scene.
One, the baseball scene has a nod to the author, because starting in books 2 and onward, she just, in her author's note, she just talks obsessively how she's in love with the band Muse, and they couldn't get Muse to do a song for the soundtrack, but they used a Muse song in the baseball scene, and it's the first song on the soundtrack to the movie because Stephanie Meyer is obsessed with them.
That's why. That's because that song, I was just like, why? I mean, it sounded like every 2000s, mid-2000s songs that existed.
Right.
So I was just like, well, this is from the time. But that's wild that they picked it out for that reason. That she just basically was like, I want to do my own needle drop here for me. Boop.
And I thought it was so funny that when you were listening, when you got to that scene, you called it butt rock, and I was just like, I think that's so funny.
That is that I don't know if my husband took it from somewhere, but my husband first coined that, calling the Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack music butt rock. And once I listened to that term, I'm like, oh no, I don't know how my brain knows this is true, but this is true what this is called.
Yeah. See, like when I think of butt rock, I think of like generic versions of songs that are meant to sound like popular songs, like generic AC/DC or something that you might hear in a restaurant or something.
Kind of what it felt like to me.
But like Muse is like is a well liked and well respected band.
Well, yeah,
so it's just weird. It's just funny that you called it that.
Muse is. I spun what was their record? Oh god, it was the Madness. Back when that was a hit again and they had relevance. So like I like Muse, but it just caught me off guard because the sound of it and now here's my own thing that I was wondering, and this is just my dumb thing. Obviously, they picked baseball because that would have been the popular sport at the time that would have also existed when he basically was becoming a vampire, right? Because American football wasn't huge.
Yeah, he was been a vampire for like 100 years.
Yeah.
Jasper, I think Alice's boyfriend was in the Civil War, and he was a Confederate. I'm talking about that much, but that's true. And yeah, the other ones are very old, and it is baseball in the book. It I don't know if this is fully. They kind of talk about it very very carefully, but it's like the three vampires, Victoria and the other two, Victoria the hunter guy and the black guy, were leaving their area, and then they heard the baseball game, and then they came back.
Okay. And would they try to cover with a thunderstorm, right?
You have to have the baseball game to drive the plot forward. If they hadn't played baseball that day, none of that stuff would have happened.
I mean, they do basically drop one line when they're like, "Oh, we heard you," and then this came over, and I assumed it was because they were looking for trouble and looking for them. Okay, they literally weren't. They weren't lying. They literally did just happen to be in the area, basically.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Hey,
hey, baseball. I like baseball." And the line that Edward says, like, "Well, it is the American pastime," is in the book also.
That was so funny. I knew as soon as he said it, I'm like, well, this has to be a meme because it just was so out of place, but also I'm like, yeah, but this is what characters say because you have to talk about baseball whenever you bring it up. You mention it as America's pastime. It's as American and it's apple pie. That is line took me out.
It is very old, so yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wondered, but that's also where my brain goes in these stories. Like I had the time to think about that aspect of, was it their era that they got together that caused baseball to be the,
but that's another bold choice from Stephanie Meyer. Like vampire stories don't have the vampires playing baseball during a thunderstorm because it's the only time they can play. Who would think to do that?
Yeah. it is just like it's some of the most interesting decision making of problem solved,
Yeah.
a problem introduced, problem solved in there.
Right.
Like, like the thing of her getting bit, like that could have been a whole sequence. In other films, that would have been a whole sequence. We would have had to spend time, like, all these things to basically prevent it staving off, because we have to have like a clock, a countdown timer. But for her, it's just like, oh, I'm bit. Okay, well, we're gonna take care of it. Better stick that out. Boom, boom, 5 minutes done.
Yeah. and the events of the events that happen do set up the events in the future books. They kill the vampire, and they have to answer for it in books 2 and 3.
That's where this vampire council with Michael Sheen comes in,
yes.
isn't it?
And they show Victoria at the end of the movie. She wants revenge.
See,
that's also the plots of books 2 and 3.
And that's the thing that actually, the reasons why I want to keep going with this too as well, is that the parts that I was interested in seeing haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
The parts that I know from memes and things, and just I have enough interest now where, again, as I have realized in this endeavor, and you said earlier, it is easier just to watch the film than to have to do like a bunch of research on it. Although I just like reading, information.
Well, you could read the information.
I know,
in this.
and I could read the information in the books.
I'm telling you, it's a fast read. I read the first half of this book in like 3 hours, probably less. And I'm a slow reader.
I'm gonna have
just
to,
give it a try.
I know I'm gonna have to do. No, it's fine. It's me having to accept that I've accepted it. I just have to have that layer of knowing not my impulse, but that aspect of me that's gonna be like,
Look, if you're gonna dive in, you should just dive in deep. Just submerge yourself in it. Like, it's fun. Okay, so here's the other thing. With the baseball scene, I think is the perfect example. This movie should have been camp. It should have been camp.
Yes.
But it wasn't, because it was made for a low budget, and it was made for teen girls who they didn't think would get camp. But like Alice, the pitcher, kicking her leg that fucking high.
Oh my god. I was obsessed with it.
The iconic pitch.
I was obsessed with it. It was gorgeous and stupid.
Yes. That's like that whole baseball sequence was so campy. If the whole movie had that tone, instead of trying to be like a fake John Hughes or a high school drama for the first third, it could have been like that. And I think that would have been the right tone for it, but I don't know that movie, like, that's the movie you and I would love and we would talk about obsessively. That is not the movie that would have been a blockbuster for teenage girls.
A film where it's a light layer of, it's not satire, but it knows what it is. It knows this is over the top, so we lean into it because you're right. They don't shy away from darker humor because, like I said, they don't do the jokes well, but the whole subtext of the dinner scene is just, well, we're not going to eat you, and is just that joke, over and over again.
Right,
which
and
is
then she literally says
like,
it.
It is funny if they basically are like, oh, we're going to learn to make your Italian food for you. Oh, with
molto bene.
Meat. But then it's also hard when, like, now I'm in an era where we have, say, What We Do in the Shadows, where it just does that kind of joke better. But that's where I caught the jokes, because I'm like, oh, I know what this humor related to this is, because we're in that era now. They could have done that, but as you said, that's not the book, and that's not the source material.
And sadly, that was something I think Catherine Hardwicke brought to it, because she had that self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because if you look at her filmography, the first 2 movies that she made before were 13 and Lords of Dogtown, which are both well-regarded teenage movies that are not just comedies, but and not just dramas. They're kind of the mixture. And then after this, she made Red Riding Hood, which is a bomb, and then she kind of got put in movie jail. And she only makes she makes a small independent feature she started out making.
That was one of the few things I had looked up, because I just needed to know at some point, and also because I realized I was misgendering the director, and I'm like, I should probably look up and see. I literally was like, I should see if it's a he. I'm like, oh, it's not. Okay. But yeah, it was the fact that I knew of those 2 films. I hadn't seen it, but I knew. I'm like, these are critically regarded films. The fact that I actually know of them. Yeah. And so it was just strange, but I just realized this wasn't the material. Wow. This wasn't the material for her to adapt in the end. I think I made some jokes where the jokes kind of slipped in. I was just like, oh, the editor was having some fun that day. But I think that was her, and she would have pushed that more had she not been on such a tight leash of, I'm sure executives and that, and the fact
tons
that
of notes coming in.
They knew the third book was there, so they knew what they had to include. It basically was like, and you know, she's in pop culture jail right now, rightly, but like when J.K. Rowling started adapting stuff, but then would like start fiddling with things in the movies because she had already knew where she was, you know, and building up on there and stuff. So people were like, well, this doesn't make sense. This isn't like what it was in the books. Twilight, I think, learned from that and was like, okay, we're going to be careful with adapting it and making sure that we will do your book exactly as you as the audience know it. And exactly as I'm going to read it, it turns out.
Well, okay, you're going to get through the first book really fast because you already know what's happening.
Yeah, I will.
You can breeze through it. But yeah, no, at least movies 1 and 2 are both pretty faithful. But like in movie 2 and on, that camp kind of doesn't. That camp goes away. There's less and less of that. Maybe it comes back in later movies. I think the last movie has a lot of like hijinks and capers and stuff that maybe it would make sense. Like, okay, this is the other thing I think is cool is that I'm going to tell you this because I don't think it's really a spoiler. At some point in the series, Bella gets turned into a vampire.
Yes, I do.
That makes sense, right? And when that happens, it feels like there's a new fresh energy, and she and like just Stephanie Meyer just really took the collar off, took the leash off, and just went running in the direction, and it's great.
I see. I'm thinking now maybe what I need to do is read the book, watch the movie. Don't limit myself to necessarily a format that is chopping it up. It might just be a monthly episode where I just check in and say, hey, here's where I'm at. I've watched the film and read the book, and now we can move on to the next part.
Don't do it monthly. Just do it when you do it.
I mean, yeah, you know, that's what I mean. It's like roughly about that, but just get them done as updates. But I'm caught in a trap.
Something else I noticed, which is relevant to me because I'm doing this other podcast where I watch Carol every week for the year. And Carter Burwell, who's the composer who did Carol, also did the music for Twilight.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I love
couldn't tell from watching it, but that's so surreal. I also sent you some homework. Did you watch your homework?
I did. That Paramore video. I like Paramore because I'd heard the song, I think just because, you know, it was in rotation and everything. But the fact that it starts with those sweeping shots of the trees, and it just
and like Hayley Williams centered with a fan on her and a light, and which is funny because they do the fan bit in this movie as well. Yes.
When did that trope start? It's so funny to me.
That's the camp that's the camp that it should have leaned into.
Yes, and then
like
those were the moments
there's a scene where the three vampires are walking out of the shadows into the baseball game, and you can very clearly tell they're on a truck that's moving while they're walking. It just doesn't look realistic at all. Like that's the shit this movie needed more of.
Yeah, it really needed to play into that and just know, especially when I think people work with the limitations of the technology they have at the time, so they knew what they could and couldn't do. Which, like I said, the fact that I know they were actually just basically ziplining between those trees, I now enjoy that scene better. I will go probably rewatch that scene just to kind of look and see, oh, okay, so what angle and all that kind of stuff, because it just makes it much more interesting that they actually put some effort into it, and it wasn't just like, well, we're phoning this in and just sort of like doing it because we gotta, you know, this is the part of the book where this happens or whatever.
Right. And another one is when they're in the cafeteria and Edward catches an apple in a weird way. It like falls down and he falls down and he bounces it up with his arm and catches it in his hand.
I missed that until it happened in the fucking credits.
Oh yeah,
and I saw it and I'm like, wait, is this the entire reason this goddamn apple's on the front of this cover is from that one moment, or is there more of a reference that I don't get?
The apple cover predates the movie.
Well, no, but I mean what I meant is in the book, does he bounce an apple and catch it? And that's the reason why. Okay.
No, it is the first sin metaphor. It just is that.
Alice, you do not realize how perfectly I intuited that and the clues I've been laying for the trap that I've had on you. Because ever since I saw that apple, I just wanted an excuse to watch again and force someone else to watch the 1980 musical The Apple.
Oh, no.
Which is about the creation myth told in the future year of 1994, where a dystopian government has taken over, and music and rock and roll is the biggest industry in the world.
Yeah, I know. I have been friends with people obsessed with musicals for basically my whole life. I have had like 4 different friend groups who've tried to get me to watch this movie, and I've avoided it so far. It's that and Cats 2019. I'm not gonna watch, but I'll watch The Apple. I'll watch The Apple. You watch Twilight. I'll watch The Apple.
My heart just grew 3 sizes today. You can watch it, and you can be allowed to not like it, but I want you to see a different attempt at a creation metaphor and see if it maybe nails it a bit better. Who knows? You might find that it's your passion of the Christ now, and you're like, oh, this is my biblical metaphor where like I know all the story. That was a terrible example. I don't know why I went with the crucifixion when I'm talking about Adam and Eve, but literally just because Good Christian Fun talked about that film the other day. I thank you for accepting that challenge, which is not just a challenge. It's just going to be, us recording a commentary. But that will drop at some point when we get that scheduled, because guess what? I'm free now.
Yeah, you're free.
I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to follow through with a goddamn thing I said on this episode tonight. I'm not going to, because I'm not going to be lazy and find excuses to not do things anymore. That's a lesson that I've learned from this podcast. Much like Bella, I'm just going to make choices.
Okay. This started because I watched The Batman, and it has Robert Pattinson in it. And Robert Pattinson in that movie is the most, like, the parts where he's Bruce Wayne are the most, he looks so depressed and emo. He looks so much like Edward without the white makeup. But he looks so down and stuff, and like, so I'm a lesbian, but I get it.
Yeah.
And like he's an attractive man, I get it. And also we didn't even talk about the fact that Kristen Stewart's fucking queen of the gays now. fucking lesbian icon Kristen Stewart. Having her girlfriend carry her Vans in her purse when they're on the fucking red carpet and shit. But and they were married. You know that, right? They were married.
Wait, they actually got married?
Robert and Kristen were married throughout the production of movies 2, 3, and 4. They got married in like 2009.
I knew they were together. Was that known they were married? Did I just miss that?
It was a big deal.
Oh no, I knew the relationship was a big deal. I guess missed the marriage part.
Let's get into my conspiracy theory about this, because I got conspiracy theories. So they got married, very convenient because they're in the movies together, right? It's Edward and Bella in real life. When the last movie comes out, Kristen is caught having an affair with the director of her movie Snow White and the Huntsman.
I remember that. Because I was one of the few people who willingly went to that and the sequel.
Yes. And then a year later, she's dating a woman. And she just dates a woman the rest of the time. So, was it a beard? Was it real? Was it a beard? Was the affair a way out of this very public marriage that seemed very convenient for when they were making Twilight movies and they weren't going to make Twilight movies anymore? When did she know that she just wanted to be a lesbian for the rest of her life? Like, okay, I should say, she has said she's bisexual. Bisexual visibility is the thing I do take seriously. But also, there's a pattern.
As a person who dated women in college and is still not unattracted to women, but predominantly after that point in college has exclusively just had sex with men, I understand that thing where I don't label myself like I used to label myself as bi and then gay and now I'm queer, and I don't actually really care that much because I just am what I am. But it is. I'm somewhat speechless because everything you just said, I'm like, yeah, no, that's probably true. my brain was just like, all of this makes sense. There is nothing about this story that I'm questioning that rings untrue. I'm assuming it then were some people conspiracizing that he might be gay and he was in a weird relationship, or was it literally just Kristen Stewart's hand?
It's I don't know that this is a widely held theory. It probably is. I was just formulating this when I looked at her Wikipedia page a few days ago.
Oh no, hey,
and, like
here's my
I've known
thing
her
is,
as
any queer conspiracy I can help start to get the gay agenda out there, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know, all good to me.
I mean, I'm a big in all of them. I love Gaylor. I love all of those things. I don't think he's queer. He's dated a bunch of women, including FKA Twigs, who is a woman.
Yeah.
And like she wrote an album about it, so I think it's real.
I didn't assume that. I just didn't know if like that was the rumor at the time of like on it. But
well, no, there was no indication that she was going to become a lesbian icon until she started dating women in 2013. And then like I say lesbian icon because she's only dated women since then. She's engaged to a woman.
Yeah.
Again, her girlfriend holding her Vans in a clear purse on the Cannes red carpet. That is like iconic lesbian herstory right there.
Well, and frankly, Hollywood loves to bury lesbians and just make them as like, oh, you can get a mention every once in a while, but they're not going to cover the relationship as if they're going to be covering, you know, any heterosexual couple that's on there and stuff. I think I also just want to see Robert Pattinson get hot. I think I honestly am at the point where it's like, I can look at him and I'm like, he's not unattractive, but it was just the weird knowing where he started. And it's like, I mean, I guess if you're aiming for teenage girls, yes, he is perfect in that zone. Like, I don't know if he was my type at the time, but I would have not, I would have looked at him and been like, oh, okay, I'm going to analyze him.
But least, I think he was 21 when he filmed it. I looked that up, and I think he looks too old, but it works in his favor because of the whole vampire.
And that's what I just kind of actually assumed they were going for, was that he should look just a little bit too old. Because how old is Edward?
Edward is 17.
He is 17. I thought I made the joke that he was a 17-year-old.
He was turned when he was 17, but he's been alive for about 100 years.
Okay, that's the number 17 was ringing around my head. Again, just because of weird age of consent stuff. But again, I'm thinking of that part of it. But also, we're in a universe where people get imprinted. Like, vampires grow weeks and months and time at a quicker pace. So, like, who knows what age is appropriate for them to be together? I'm not advocating for 17-year-old vampires to get in relationships. But
here's what I will say: in the book, if they have sex or she gets turned, it's because she wants it. It is not. Him and his family are always pushing against her.
Oh my god,
it's like it. I think book 3 especially is like turn me. No.
My thing is just like, it's Edward's. It's the repressed sexuality as well on the men's side. That's the other half of it. It's like, don't touch. You can't get near her. You can't. You might have your goo cannon go off, and that's the worst.
You're gonna destroy her.
Yeah, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. So you need to be aware of it all the time. And it's so funny because that mindset instantly makes men sexualize everything, because you're told to look out for, I should just say people, but like I'm just thinking men in terms of like my growing up evangelical and what they told us men specifically, which was like also basically that like the other part that'd be like, the reason you have to be like, well, and also, you know, any one of you could basically turn into a rapist at any point once you start having sex, because you'll just start
the thirst will get to, so you like, can't control it.
And that's that's what he's like saying himself too, like, I have to control it because I know I'm going to go too far, and I have to not go too far. And it is about creating boundaries, creating steps, it's the steps. These are where you need to go. But it's still, in a weird way, dictating exactly how you should be living your life. These are the bars that you have to meet. Holding hands, touching, having her mystical chastity belt open up, whatever it is, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, I didn't expect this movie to make me have so much thoughts about my queer identity, but not for anything that happened in the film that in of itself was queer, but just simply making me analyze the choices I made in my relationship and how I joked about it. But it's like, well, I understand wanting to be with someone who was with a life-saving moment with you, because Alex, my metaphorical life-saving moment with him was just making me feel valued, because it was partly to do with sexuality, but it was partly just to do with someone who just loved me for who I was. And allowed me to be attracted to them, allowed me to be interested in them, who wasn't putting up walls or barriers or sectioning off or saying like, we can't be together. This is forbidden. This is whatever and stuff. So I kind of get it. And I'm still just sitting here. Do you know what I'm literally doing? I'm still upset about Bella. I still am feeling so bad for her at the end of this because it just doesn't feel like, I don't know, to go through all that trauma and to feel like she hasn't processed an ounce of it. But it's a happy ending because she got to go to the dance. Like it's material.
It's not even a happy ending for her. She doesn't like the dance. She doesn't want to go to the dance.
Yeah, exactly. She gets to it, and then she basically has a moment that I have where I get anxious because I'm like, oh, I'm in the middle of the dance floor, and there's someone over here, and there's something over here, and there's something over there. Like, she has an ADD moment, and it's just like, I'm gonna go outside and breathe for a bit.
I can't start talking about how everything in my life as a 37-year-old woman is just wishing I could go to prom all the time. I want to turn every event I go into prom. I want to wear a prom dress all the time. I want to get a limo and a corsage. I just want to go to prom, like, so badly in my life.
This feels like it's going to be a continued conversation because I have the absolute opposite urge, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it is just because maybe it's because I did theater at such a young age that I got dressed up. I did the thing. Totally. I was used to being a spectacle. I could have focus on me that whenever dances or parties came around, I never felt any need to put myself out there because I got that fix. I already know. I'm seeing what everyone is doing to entertain everyone, and I'm getting it. I know how the sausage is made. So it's hard to not just be cynical because you're like, oh, I see what they're doing to have fun and hamming up, and you can look at it that way, which is sort of how like Bella observes everything, which is a bit of a depressive way to look at stuff, which is just removing the fun from it and just seeing the structure and the bones and saying, oh, this is just the thing where we go in and do this. You know, it's like the chemistry test that they do where it's like, oh, we're just going to do this thing just to do this. And if we fuck with it a little bit, oh, we accidentally poof, you know, have it go off and
but
stuff.
The interesting thing is Edward. The mystery of Edward and then the attraction to Edward becomes the thing that she fixates on. The other thing I was thinking about is that when you watch this movie, I think, especially when you first started, you were coming into it as an adult, thinking about these teenagers having this relationship. If you read the books, I mean, I think this will happen anyway if you read the books, but put yourself in Bella's shoes. Put yourself in like a little 13-year or 17-year-old Missi, moving to Forks. No one's ever liked her. She gets swept up in this adventure. And like that's what, like, for all of the weird things that he's done in his career and all the stuff that's happened, that is still what I think about when I see Robert Pattinson in like the Batman. I see the romantic hope of like a lost girl who gets swept away into adventure by this handsome boy. And I think he's spent most of his career trying to move away from that, frankly. Like doing like Safdie Brothers movies and shit.
Like Harry Potter, like Daniel Radcliffe after Harry Potter. I noticed they had similar things where they were actively pushing against that and taking projects that they don't need the money. They can Robert Pattinson can go do The Lighthouse, a black and white film where it's just him and Robert Duvall losing their goddamn minds. It's like great, perfect.
I really like just meta point. I really wanted to bring it back to the original question of why did I have you do this?
Yeah, and that's where. I think my brain is stuck because now I'm questioning why did I do this? You know, and it's really hard to think back over a month ago.
Yeah.
The exact, what was the trigger? Was it listening to your podcast and just wanting to mimic it and being like, oh, this would be a fun thing to do. Might as well do it.
It's an easy thing to do that doesn't require a lot of executive function, which for me is like, if I can do it without having to think of, like, make choices, it's very easy for me to do. If I have to make a choice or think about it for more than 2 seconds, it's very hard for me to do.
I think that was a realization I came to as well, which was thinking about when the decision is already made for you. Like I recorded most of these just before I went to bed at night. Everyone else in the house could go to bed. It was nice because it just let my thoughts be sort of natural. I wasn't having that overthinking part of my brain, which is censoring what I'm talking about as I'm talking about it. Because of course you like, worried about saying the wrong thing. Not like something offensive, but just like the whatever wrong thing to say it is. That it really, I think it was just the opportunity to like, one, create something, but also two, I think just to make new friends. Like, it's just a way to be like, well, okay, like if someone's interested in this, we might as well do it. And that, I think, was the interesting part to me, was how easy it was to do, because I knew at least, well, one other person's listening to this.
Yep.
So it's just as basically me dropping like a voice memo for someone to be like, hey, here's a funny thing that I'm doing. You know, it's a longer voice message, missed call.
Yeah.
But I did the two narcissistic things that I think can come out of this, just in terms of doing a podcast, we're talking the meta part.
Yeah.
One, literally getting used to my voice. And I think finally kind of getting to a point where I'm not struggling with the internalized homophobia of how I sound gay, and like just being okay with that, because most of the time beforehand when I did projects, I would be very much putting on the NPR neutralized, muted voice that I realized was killing my actual voice. And was making me think I have to sound like these people that I've listened to and respect all the time. Whereas now, finding stuff like Radio Free Multiverse and Georgia Goose Talk Show, it's like, hey, just speaking stream of conscious and off the top of your head is also a valid way of doing all of this too.
Yeah.
And the other part of it was me just realizing I found myself funny. Like, I was just listening back to it and was actually like giving about it. And I have a very odd thing. And I think it's because I mostly do live theater in projects I do, because I don't get to see any of that back, and I'm just in the moment. When I hear stuff that I do, it's the part of my brain that doesn't think it's me. Like, I know it's me, and I remember recording it, but I'm hearing it as if it's someone else making it, and it surprises me. So I think that's part of what also surprised me, was just me actually enjoying something that I did, and not feeling that stupid Midwest forced modesty where you're like, oh, well, that was okay. That was everyone's no, this is some funny fucking things that are coming from
you
this.
said that your podcast was funny. Yeah, no, totally. I totally understand what you mean. Like, I think I'm the same way. I do think that a lot of the things I do are funny, or I will listen back to something I did and be like, oh, that was a really good joke. And like, I don't think you're supposed to do that. I think that's why I'm not a successful comedy person, but it's okay. And like, look, I hope you had fun doing this podcast. I hope the rest of this endeavor, if you continue on, is fun. And if not, you should stop doing it. But I hope it was either interesting or a light for you over the last month. And if not, it's okay. I'm still going to watch The Apple.
It was so interesting. It was so fun. It was so purposeful, and I'm not saying that in a way, like, it had the amount of purpose that it did. I'm not trying to make it sound like, my life has meaning now, because it did.
Yeah, not at all.
It was the pilot light to get the gas going again, and to just let me be fun and creative, and also, frankly, getting to do bullshit in the Radio Free Multiverse area, and just allowing myself to just put stuff out there, and for other people, I despite coming off as maybe a little bit more confident than I am, because I do just say things off the cuff and just willing to go on there, I am deeply terrified about what other people think of me, and really am worried about being in the moment with other people. I'm always overthinking it. But this type of format forces you to not do that, because you just have to be in the moment. You can't not, because you're recording and everything. So I think that at the end of this is also the part, and again, why I'm making the decision to keep doing this is because, well, then it'll give me something to do, which will then encourage me to do other things. I don't know if you know this. I have another podcast that I'm already working on. That's
the Batman one. Yeah, I've seen your tweet.
Yeah, the Batman one. So, even just starting this allowed me to feel, which I had that technically booked beforehand, but still, it just came at the right time for me to then feel comfortable to just start doing other stuff as well.
Oh yeah.
which is fun.
I mean, you had the logo and the theme song within the second episode, so I was surprised. I was like, oh no, Missy's really doing it.
I was surprised, and that again, the reason that I did that was because I knew, oh, if I put even this small amount of effort into it, they're gonna listen and realize, oh, she's serious. This isn't a joke in her bit anymore. This is becoming a reality, and you created a monster and let that monster loose on the world.
I have one note, which is you always refer to me as Alice Lee of the Batmonth podcast, and of all the things I do, the Batmonth is like the least consequential. It's so weird to hear that.
I know. It's funny, but it is like, it's because of my connection to this and stuff. You're right. I mean, you host stuff on Read Me Free Multiverse, and you do much more interesting things in your life as well. But I think just the fact that that's the connection of why this is even I mean, the only reason I'm in a video chat recording with you right now is because of this. You know, I will take that note in future, and I will ask for introduction so I can properly credit the achievements on there next time.
Okay.
But for the last time, I will outro you.
Okay.
I was trying to think of the opposite of introduce, but outroduction, and say, Alice Lee of the Batmonth podcast.
Yes, that's me.
Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, you knew you had to the moment that I started this.
Oh yeah, of course. It's been an honor. I've been so excited for this, like getting to come back to Twilight, listening to your podcast, and like knowing like, oh, she's gonna get to the baseball scene. The baseball scene's gonna blow her away, and then like rereading the book and everything has been so fun for me too, because I do like Twilight. Like it has all of these problems, but I do like it as a property, and it did like. Listening to that Paramore song brought me right back to 2008, and that's why I wanted to listen to it. And so this has been great. I also just want to say my catchphrase, the tires are the boots of the car.
Oh my God. It is... You have to listen to the Batmonth podcast. I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably already have, but still, oh my God. That is the funniest runner from listening in, and just not being able to look at a car the same. I just think to myself every once in a while, driving, the tires are the boots of the car. I'm walking my car all the way over. It's just so dumb. But again, it's little bits like that come from here that is the reason that I enjoy these things and have enjoyed doing this. Is there anything you would like to plug, Alice? This is your chance to credit yourself as you wish.
Yeah, so I make another podcast called The Best Idea of All Time. We are watching the 2015 lesbian movie Carol with Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara every week this year. It is not the best idea of all time in practice because we're both kind of sick of the movie at this point. But it's been really fun. It's hosted by myself and my friend Laser Sydney, and we are losing our minds. And please check it out.
I wanted to get Twilight out of my head first before I watched it, but I wanted to let you
That's
know
fair.
I'm gonna watch it at least once.
It's a good movie. It's a very good movie.
And it's the best idea of all time, to watch that movie. Maybe the best idea of all time is to watch that film, and the best idea of all time is not to do a weekly podcast about it.
Well, okay, it's a copy of this podcast made by two New Zealand comedians called The Worst Idea of All Time, where they watch a bad movie that they don't like 52 weeks in the year. And I thought, well, Carol is a movie I love, so really watching it 52 times would be the best idea of all time. And we kind of flipped their format. We have their blessing, thankfully. They're not suing us, and we love those guys. But I knew it was going to turn.
Guy is, notoriously litigious.
I knew it was going to turn, and it just turned. But we're soldiering through. We've also had a lot of really amazing guests. We had Paul F. Tompkins and Carmen Esposito and Anika Pyle from the band Chumped. Grace Ellis, who wrote Grace Ellis and Han Templar, who were the creative force behind the new Patricia Highsmith graphic novel biography that just came out called Flung Out of Space, which is incredible. Laser is an internet celebrity. He's in a band, so I'm just milking his contacts to get people on our podcast. But it's been really fun.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know. I will learn all of this when I start listening to the podcast. Yeah, I saw Paul F. Tompkins on there, and I was like, oh shit, I'm dealing with a heavy hitter here. I gotta be careful. I gotta make sure my podcast game is aimed upwards.
I can tell you from our download numbers, we are not a heavy hitter, but we aspire to be.
You're gonna see some new downloads soon. Wow, my brain really is fried. I mean, it's almost 1 o'clock my time.
Missy, bring us home. Bring it home.
I know. Bring it home. Bring it home. Okay. I gotta get in here. I gotta get ramped. What would Edward do? What would Edward want me to do? Alice, thank you so much for coming on this podcast, but I can't be around you. I need to not be near you, and you need to not be near me. You need to not be near me. So I'm sorry, but we can't be in a video chat anymore. I can't have this. And this is what's best for you. And I've made this decision for you, so you don't have to make any other decisions about it. You can just accept the fact that we're not going to be together until the next time that we're together.
I understand, but you're wrong.
Well, in this case, I'm right. Alice Lee, thanks you so much for joining. It's been lovely.
Mm-hmm.